dialogue and education as panacea. Gianni Infantino emerges as new president of FIFA. Hello and a warm welcome to our viewers in Nigeria and around the world. This is NTA's News International and I'm Rhoda Abo. Many thanks for joining us. A massive prayer session for Nigeria was again performed by President Muhammadu Buhari and his entire delegation to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia, this time in the inner chamber of the Grand Kaaba, a rare privilege granted by the Saudi monarch King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. State House correspondent Abu Sambu has details on this amazing grace.
It was a rare privilege of remarkable significance as the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, permitted that the golden door of the Grand Kaaba be opened for President Muhammadu Buhari and his entire delegation to the holy city of Mecca. Consequently, the circumambulation of the Kaaba was virtually put on hold in the early hours of Friday as the Saudi security personnel created a barricade to allow the Nigerian leader and his team unfettered access to the Kaaba, considered as the center of the world and a replica of the House of Allah. Cameras were not allowed in, but for over 20 minutes, President Muhammadu Buhari, governors, traditional rulers, Islamic scholars, and everyone in his company buried themselves in prayers to Allah, prayers for themselves, prayers for their families, and prayers for peace, unity, stability, and prosperity of Nigeria.
It is a golden opportunity. If anybody is lucky to go in and to supplicate to Allah for all his needs and for the nation.
It doesn't get any better. We were opportune to pray, not just in Kaaba, inside Kaaba. I mean, that goes a long way to show that the Almighty Allah has answered our prayers and that Nigeria will have this turnaround that we all clamor for.
And I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has acceded to all my requests and demands for the development, peace and progress of Nigeria and people who are patriotic and are desirous of the upliftment of Nigeria as a leading light in Africa and as a beacon of hope for all blacks.
More prayers were offered for Nigeria as the president returned to the Grand Mosque for the congregational Jummah prayers. President Buhari had earlier granted audience to the representatives of the Nigerian community in Mecca, where he assured them of his unshakable resolve to fulfill pre-election promises by addressing the nation's fundamental problems of security, economy, and corruption.
About this largesse of 5,000 naira for the unemployed, I have got a slightly different priority. I would rather do the infrastructure at the school and correct them, and empower agriculture, mining, so that able-bodied persons can go and get work, instead of giving 5,000 naira to those who don't work and maybe stay in motor park. So it's a question of parity, but since it's part of the party's manifesto, okay, they said it. But I, in my campaign, and now I have never said it. Nobody can ever catch me that I have said this one.
Now, Senate President Abubakar Bukola Saraki has emphasized the need for dialogue, education, positive thinking amongst Nigerians as a panacea to overcoming the ongoing security challenge across the country. He stated this when he granted audience to the Vice Chancellor and the management of the Nigerian Technical University. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Gariba bin Nkudu reports.
50% of academic staff from different.
Coming from the myriad of problems facing Nigeria, Senate President Saraki implored educationists to take the lead in finding solutions to them. Senator Saraki observed that the challenge of misinterpretation of religious doctrines poses danger to Nigeria's peaceful coexistence, noting that education and constant dialogue are central to changing the extreme beliefs.
He said the war against terrorism is not going to be won on the battlefield, it will be won in the minds of people and in the colleges, universities for education and of course dialogue.
Meanwhile, the Senate is to support the Nigerian Youth Parliament to disabuse the minds of Nigerian youth from all social vices. Chairman Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service, Senator Emmanuel Polka, stated this during an interaction with the Youth Parliament.
We owe a duty to this country as body. The Youth Parliament must go to a different constituency to educate the youth that these vices are not helping this country.
We are youths that have a definite course of action towards national development.
Nigerian Youth Parliament has representatives from all parts of the country. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Garba Kudu, NTA News.
The special committee set up by the House of Representatives to investigate the crisis rocking the Kogi State House of Assembly says it has gathered enough information on the matter and will make adequate recommendation to the House for further investigative action. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim was on the entourage of the committee to the Kogi State and now reports.
The first point of call on arrival to Kogi State by the House of Representatives Special Committee led by Representative Pali Iriase was the office of the State Governor Alhaji Yaya Bello. Representative Iriase told Governor Bello that the fact-finding visit is part of their constitutional mandate and solicited the cooperation of the governor to hear from him on the matter. Kogi State Governor Yahya Bello's meeting with the House Special Committee was later held behind closed doors, at the end of which they spoke to NTA News.
I have no hands in it. I am of the executive and they are of the legislature. So they have their problems between then and now, before I was even sworn in. Myself and other stakeholders were trying to see what we can do to resolve them.
At the office of the Kogi State Commissioner of Police, Yakubu Usman, the meeting was also held behind closed doors. At the Kogi State House of Assembly, 15 out of the 20 members of the Assembly attended the investigative meeting at the instance of the House of Representatives Special Committee.
The next line of action is that we package our findings, our observations, and make recommendations to the House of Representatives of Nigeria.
I hope justice, they are going to do justice to our problem, they are going to solve our problem, and I hope we are going to resume back to carry out our legislative process.
Representative Iriase commented on the concerns raised by the absence of the other group of 5 members of the State Assembly.
It does not speak well in a democratic setting.
Before now, 25 duly elected members of Kogi State House of Assembly usually sit in this hollow chamber to enact laws for the benefit of the entire state. But what could be described as a clash of political interest has divided this honorable house. From Kogi State House of Assembly, Lokoja, I am Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
The National Population Commission has defended over 272 billion naira budget proposal for the 2016 census exercise. The Director General of the Commission, Ganji Ismaila Bello, at a budget defense before the House Committee on Population, lamented the lack of proper documentation process. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
The figures slated for the conduct of 2016 census exercise will be spent over the period of 4 years, after which the overall census figures will be provided. The Director General National Population Commission, Gaji Ismaila Bello, has briefed the committee on the 1.7 billion naira proposal for the completion of the NPC headquarters project.
Normally, all these problems are associated with late releases of funding. But if funds are released on good time, there is no reason why one will not be able to observe the rules and at the same time apply them.
We don't want to appropriate funds anyhow, but we want to tie most of the fund to the preparation for census.
Meanwhile, House Committee on Federal Character excuses a director of PTAD out of its meeting due to what it described as a disrespect to the constitutional law. The committee also frowns at the inability by the Director General PTAD, Nelly Meshak, to make available comprehensive nominal roll and the employment procedure under her watch. Chairman Federal Inland Revenue Service Tunde Faulel was also asked in the same vein by the chairman of the committee, Ahmad Idris Wasi, to give priority in the next recruitment exercise to fill in the gap of representation as enshrined in 1999 Constitution as amended. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
Deputy Military Advisor to the United Nations, Major General Adrian Foster, has re-emphasized Nigeria's commitment to global peace and security. This came to the fore at the National Defense College Course 24 and collaboration on peacekeeping matters. Obiageli Ugoike completes the story.
The guest, Major General Adrian Foster, is in Nigeria to assess the situation regarding his war against insurgents in order to recommend to the United Nations to rally support for the country to overcome its multiple security challenges for the overall benefits of mankind.
This is my first time in Nigeria, and the situations that we find ourselves in now are more complex and more dangerous than they have been for some time. More of our missions are working in what we know as asymmetric environments these days, and where there is little, if any, peace to keep.
The United Nations advisor is also providing lectures on peacekeeping to participants of National Defense College Course 24. The occasion was used to draw the attention of the United Nations' active collaboration and support to the growing menace of insurgency as soon as possible. Obiageli Ugoke, NTA News.
Well, the Department of State Services and the Nigerian Air Force has paraded suspects who specialize in job scam and blackmailing top government functionaries with the aim of extorting money from them. To this end, the Department of State Services advising members of the public to be wary of these groups of persons. Joseph Orok has details.
The suspects allegedly claimed that the DG of the service collected 4 billion naira from 4 PDP governors to influence the judgments of the Supreme Court in the recently decided electoral cases.
They were also to misinform the president and, in fact, the Nigerian public that the DGSSS had acquired choice properties in Maitama and Asokoro areas of Abuja. The overall objective was to scare the DGSSS and put him under pressure just for the group to extort money from him to serve their pecuniary interests.
The suspects, who confirmed the allegation, said they were discussing the matter on phone with each other as to whether or not it could be true, and this resulted to their arrests. In a related developments, a member of a notorious job scam syndicate has been apprehended by the Nigerian Air Force.
Furthermore, the suspect has confessed to have collected money from a number of people with a promise to assist them for recruitment into the military. Not only
the suspect, Musa Ibrahim Babangida, alias Facilitator, who confessed that the group specializes in defrauding unsuspecting Nigerians with the pretext of recruiting them into the Nigerian Armed Forces, said the group's ringleader, Usman Sakaba, had been at large. Joseph Orok, NTA News.
Workers under the aegis of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasing, has expressed displeasure over the incessant deployment of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC staff as chief executive officers to the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA. Pengasing branch chairman, Comrade Victor Ononukbono, made this known at a press briefing in Abuja. Lajide Bedu completes that report.
The imposition of NNPC staff to head the PPPRA, according to Pengasing, is allegedly contrary to the act establishing the agency as contained in Part 1 of the PPPRA Act. The union therefore appealed for the strict adherence to the provision.
I need to quote a portion from Part 1, Section 3 of the PPPRA Act number 8 of 2003. It says, the agency shall be located in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and shall not be subject to the direction, control, or supervision of any other authority in the performance of its functions under this act, other than the President.
This trend, according to him, has strengthened the independence of the once revered downstream regulator, taking a continuous slide towards partisanship and collusion.
The practice of appointing officers from operating and marketing companies to head a critical regulatory agency like PPPRA is unthinkable.
The union says it is willing to relax its protest, which commenced on Tuesday, 23rd of February, and open vistas for engagement as they anticipate favorable resolution from the federal government on the matter. In Abuja, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
For effective management of emergencies in the country, there is a need for stronger collaborations between the FRSC, the Ministry of Health, and other emergency management institutions. Minister of State for Health, Dr. Osagi Ianire, said this at the FRSC headquarters in Abuja during a visit. Details with Oyeyemi Ajayi.
The Minister of State for Health urged on the urgent need for all relevant stakeholders in the emergency management institutions to join hands in creating the needed synergy that could provide a world-class platform for disaster management in the country. It disclosed that the Ministry of Health is working on strengthening the collaboration with other stakeholders such as fire service, civil defense and the Nigerian Air Force to achieve a holistic and efficient system of emergency management in the country.
We already have a team that is working on accident and emergency service. You have a team too. We have been in conversation. We want to expand it to include all others and start holding regular meetings and create a work plan.
On behalf of the management, I must sincerely thank you, Chicholi Light, for giving us your time today and to see what we are doing.
The Minister of State for Health advocated a specialist training for drivers conveying hazardous materials to enable them appreciate the safety implications of their consignment. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA International from Abuja, Nigeria. When we return, Nigeria's apex court affirms death of Reverend King by hanging. FIFA gets new head. Stay with us for more.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news on NTA International. Fire has engulfed one of the Millennium buildings close to the NNPC towers in the central area of Abuja. The fire started around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. According to an eyewitness, Mr. Francis Ngenagbo, who was a staff in one of the offices in the building. The cause of the fire was, however, yet to be ascertained at the time of filing in this report. The Supreme Court has confirmed the death sentence passed on the General Overseer of the Christian Praying Church in Lagos, Nigeria, Chukwuemeka Eziego, known as Reverend King. Reverend King was convicted of killing a church member, and 5 others will now die by hanging. The cleric was sentenced to death by a Lagos court, but King appealed the ruling up to the Supreme Court. Nigeria is blessed with talented youths who cannot be fully exploited for optimal development due to lack of government support. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, said this when he watched one of Nigeria's innovators, Fidelis Nwachukwu, who designed and constructed a prototype excavator in Abuja. Adebola Brooksling Sunday reports.
Statistics show that Nigeria is a country of about 170 million people, with her youths having the largest population and great potentials for the country's development. Fidelis Nwachukwu, a secondary school certificate holder, is one of such youths. He designed and constructed this prototype excavator, which he said he achieved without support from the federal government for over 2 years.
It's a lack of encouragement. Nobody's encouraging us in Nigeria. Some people that, if they see that nobody encouraging me, they don't do. The people are suffering digging foundation. How to do a lot of things that will be digging foundation.
The minister, full of excitement at the level of functionality of the excavator, said this is a government of change, which believes in supporting every citizen with innovations that would move the nation forward.
You have 15 ministries that need to work together for us to be in a position to ensure that good ideas become products and services. One, we will let them know that it's in their best interest and in the interest of the nation for these ideas to be patented, because intellectual property is important, it must be protected.
Fidelis Nwachuku said he has all it takes to make the difference if the federal government gives him the maximum support. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Time now to talk some business with Obiagali Goike.
Nigeria is to implement International Monetary Fund's Enhanced General Data Dissemination System, which was endorsed by the Executive Board in May 2015. This makes Nigeria the largest economy in the first wave of countries in sub-Saharan Africa to implement the recommendations of the EGDDS. The EGDDS, which supports the development of the National Summary Data Page, serves as a one-stop publication vehicle for essential macroeconomic data. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised hopes of the Naira rebounding further. This, the bank said, is based on some drastic measures taken to strengthen the local currency and ensure that speculators get punished. In a statement, the CBN said its measures, which particularly included mopping up excess liquidity in the system, made the Naira scarce. Obiageli Ugoke, NTA News.
Time now to join Justin Bem Onyi for some stories trending in the international scene.
A soldier in the Chadian contingent of the UN's peacekeeping force in northern Mali killed his own commander and an army doctor following weeks of tensions over living conditions. Reports say the soldier had started an insurrection against the contingent's top brass that previous evening before shooting the two men. And from Accra, Ghana, comes a report that a teenage driver from Bremen Brakwa has been sentenced to 7 years in prison with hard labor for raping a 14-year-old girl. And away from Africa, polls opened Friday in Iran's parliamentary elections, the country's first since its landmark nuclear deal with world powers last summer. The vote is in part seen as a referendum on the policies of moderate President Hassan Rouhani, who is credited with bringing about a deal that curbed Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for the lifting of crippling international sanctions. Justin Bem Onyi, NTA News.
And talking sports now, UEFA General Secretary Gianni Infantino has been elected as FIFA president in Zurich, Switzerland, to replace Sepp Blatter, who is serving a 6-year ban from football. The election went into second ballot after no candidate earned the required 2/3 majority of votes cast by member associations of the World Football's governing body in the initial voting process. Gianni Infantino led the first round with 88 votes, followed by Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa with 85, Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan with 27, and former FIFA executive Jerome of France with 7. In the second round of voting, only a simple majority is needed to win the election, and voters are allowed to change their selections. South African Tokyo Sexwale had also been running for the presidency, but dramatically withdrew from the race right before voting began. Earlier on, FIFA members voted in favor of the proposed reforms to address issues of governance, accountability, transparency, and diversity. In the meantime, Nigerian national team coach Sunday Olise Friday morning resigned his appointment via his Twitter handle, citing contract violations, lack of support and unpaid wages. Nigerian Football Federation confirmed his resignation, describing it as unfortunate.
And a new technical crew that will do the job. We cannot be dwelling on what has happened. Only say has gone. Yeah, good. For me, it's good riddance to bad rubbish.
And sports does it, but just before we go, a quick look at Saturday's weather prospects for Nigeria and major cities around the world. All right, so sorry we weren't able to bring you the weather report. We'll bring it to you in our subsequent news belt. And so that does it. Thank you for watching. I'm Rhoda Abo. Join us for subsequent news belt here on the NTA. Good evening.